She was very close to her parents, calling her father her best friend. She often cited her mother as a source of strength and honesty. This love extended to her young brothers, Brian and Robin, of whom she was very protective. She especially took great care with Robin, who suffered from disabilities. She hoped that one day she would be able to earn enough money to take care of her brother, once her parents no longer could. Marlene was a member of the Tla'aoquiat First Nation located on the west coast of Vancouver Island. Both she and Dawn attended a residential school. The school was located on Mears Island, and it was aimed at assimilating Canada's Indigenous youth into the general population. Run by a Christian church, these schools were a hotbed for racism. Indigenous children were often forcefully taken from their families and made to endure degrading and often traumatic conditions. Many lost their lives, and the negative effects of Canada's residential schools are still felt today by both survivors and their families. Lisa found herself very involved in the community. Not only did she partake in numerous school activities, she held numerous volunteer positions also, including one as a crosswalk guard and another as a day camp leader with the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Culture. Lisa was known for being really independent, and she was a hard worker, with inner strength that those around her were envious of. Her self-confidence was high, and it showed in everything that she did. It made her the center of attention, which was evident in the large social group she belonged to. People were drawn to her. She was bubbly, outgoing, and she kept them around her because of her caring nature. At the time of her disappearance, Lisa was moving into her own apartment in northern Nanaimo and was preparing to take a new job at a call center. She planned to work here while she decided whether or not she wanted to pursue a higher education. She was hoping to have a new start in a new job field, as she felt she'd grown tired of working in the service industry, having held positions at McDonald's as well as a local nightclub. Like so many young women her age, she was active with friends. She had a very active social life. At 11 p.m. on June 29, 2002, Lisa left her parents' residence with plans to visit a local nightclub along with several friends in celebration of her friend Dallas's 21st birthday. This struck her parents as odd. She was very responsible and she had to get up early the next day to start her new job. Lisa and her friends arrived at the Jungle nightclub, now known as Evolve, at around 12 a.m. She knew the club well as she'd worked there 3 years prior and spent many nights at the location. The majority of her friends left approximately 2 hours later. At that time, Lisa, Dallas, and another male friend stayed behind. At around 2:30 a.m., one of Lisa's friends struck up a conversation with a 27-year-old male who offered them a ride to a house party. Despite just meeting them and needing to work the next morning, they felt he seemed friendly enough and they took him up on the offer. It's unknown if she really wanted to go to the party or if getting a ride there was only because she was riding with somebody else. According to the reports, the group of friends spent about an hour at that party before leaving to attend yet another one. However, some feel this timeline is incorrect and they don't believe that there had been enough time for this to have occurred, as they arrived at the second party in Westwood Lake area around 3 or 3:30 a.m. She was last seen leaving this party at 4 a.m., still with the new man she met, in an older model red Jaguar. He'd offered her a ride to a nearby sandwich shop as she was hungry and was looking for a vegetarian option that was not available at the party. Her last known contact with anyone was at 4:30 a.m. when she contacted Dallas and told her that the man hadn't taken her to the sandwich shop at all, and that they were sitting in his car in the driveway at another house party on Bowen Road. She reportedly said that she was either waiting in the car or was locked in and unable to get out. She didn't feel comfortable and she texted her friend Dallas, "Come get me. They won't let me leave." It's unknown if he saw these messages at the time. According to the report, she also made a phone call to another female friend around that time and shared the same concerns. Although her family and friends were concerned, they were not allowed to place a missing persons report until 4 days had passed. Her family did not wait and instead formed search parties, but they were unable to find her. Several months later, the RCMP identified the red Jaguar Lisa was last seen in, as well as the man she'd been with. He has a long history of arrests, including assault, and he is considered a person of interest. In the years since Lisa went missing, her family has covered Vancouver Island with missing persons posters, followed leads, consulted with psychics, and spoken to countless members of the media across British Columbia. Investigators suspect foul play in the case and have stated that it is currently being looked at as a homicide, as Lisa had no reason to disappear. At the time of her disappearance, she stood 5'4". She weighed approximately 115 pounds. She had dark hair and dark eyes, and she has a tattoo of a band of flowers with a heart in the middle on her right arm. If she is still alive today, she would be 39 years old. If you have any information at all on Lisa's disappearance, please contact the number on your screen. Kristen Galvin. Kristen Galvin has been missing for a little over a year. She turned 17 on April 23, 2021. She went missing from her grandmother's house in January of 2020 in Texas. Kristen was befriended by some new girls. It is believed that they lured her out of her home using a false pretense. Her picture has been located on various prostitution websites selling sex, and it's believed that she's actively being trafficked at this time. She was described as a good student. She had a friendly personality that lit up every room she entered. According to the FBI, they believe she is in danger. If you have any information at all on Kristen, please call the number on your screen. Tanetta Carile. Tanetta Yvette Carile was born on August 28, 1973. She lived in Chattanooga, Tennessee, with her mother and her brother. Tanetta loved music, especially rap. Bobby Brown was her favorite artist at the time that she went missing. Tanetta was last seen leaving City High School at approximately 2:55 p.m. on March 16, 1989. 5 minutes later, she was abducted in front of the school. According to the witness, she'd been on Ruth Street. She heard a commotion near Hamilton Avenue. Upon looking down the hill, she saw several unidentified persons jump out of a tan and yellow van. They surrounded her, and they forced her into the vehicle before pulling away. The eyewitness and her husband jumped into their car, and they chased the van. While they were unable to keep up, they managed to grab the license plate number. It was Tennessee LKH 920, and they relayed the information to the authorities. 8 hours later, Noni called 911 to report that her daughter had not returned home from school. A missing child report was filed. Unfortunately, the report and the call about the abduction were not connected until 2 days later, when the authorities realized that the missing girl, Tanetta, lived close and missed the description of the girl who was kidnapped. They were able to track down the license plate of the vehicle involved, and it was connected to a man by the name of Jeffrey Jones. He was a convicted rapist who had served 8 years in prison on charges of rape and aggravated sexual assault. He was released from prison just the year before. It was later determined that Jeffrey Jones had raped a woman in his apartment complex just 2 months before the teenager was last seen. Over 300 police officers, volunteers, and bloodhounds scoured the area around Jones' apartment complex, but they found nothing related to the case. There have been numerous rumors that suggest that Tanetta was forced into prostitution and taken to California, having fallen victim to a trafficking network operating out of that state. Her mother has criticized the police investigation. She believed they handled it in a way that was detrimental. It took them a long time to start looking for her, as well as connect the cases. Currently, the case is classified as a non-family abduction. If she is alive today, she would be 47 years old. Chantel Bushy. Chantel Bushy was born on April 2, 1991, in Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada. The daughter of a single mother, she and her family had a difficult time during her upbringing, with Chantel in particular experiencing traumatic events. When she was 11 years old, she and her brother witnessed the death of their younger sister, Summer, after she fell under a wagon wheel. It's also reported that Chantel was sexually abused during her teenage years. Chantel had a habit of cutting class and running away, often disappearing for days at a time. According to her mother, her daughter felt as though she didn't belong anywhere. Because of this, she had a difficult time making friends. She eventually ended up spending time with a bad crowd, just wanting to fit in. They began to influence her behavior in a negative way. According to authorities, Chantel led what is being deemed as a high-risk lifestyle. She was known by the police because she used to hang around sex workers and drug dealers, although she participated in neither activity, and her running away meant she was known to local law enforcement. This prompted her mother to contact child welfare in order to see if there was anything at all that she could do to help steer them in the right direction. Their response was that they would only become involved if she was a danger to herself. Chantel was considered an overall kind girl who was known for her sass. While in school, she found herself skilled at both math and art, which her mother remembers her enjoying. When she was just 15, she gave birth to a baby girl she named Fatima. In April 2007, her mother Vivian filed for custody of the child. The request was granted. The last time anyone heard from Chantel, it was December of 2007. At that time, her disappearance didn't seem unusual given her history of running away from home. Vivian simply assumed her daughter was on the street somewhere and that the police would not get involved unless she got in trouble with the law. Vivian was finally allowed to report her missing on September 14, 2009. By this time, 2 years had passed since anyone had seen her. Vivian is doing her best to raise Chantel's daughter, Fatima. After their sister Summer had died, Chantel's brother struggled with alcoholism and drug use as a method of coping. If Chantel is still alive, she would be 29 today. I hope you enjoyed today's story. If you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button. Take care of yourselves and each other.